Hi, my name is Francesco Rulli. I'm here today with David Nour, the CEO of the Nour Group. So, David, can you share with us a little bit about your background and your work?
Francesca, good to be with you. I'm a senior leadership board advisor. I'm an adjunct faculty member at Emory University in Atlanta and Vanderbilt University in Nashville. And the last part of what I do is executive coaching. I've spent the last 20 years really being a student of business relationships and specifically their application in really creating innovative net new growth opportunities. So I work with global enterprises, typically P&L executives who are looking for tangential opportunities in the core business to really find new growth, to not just manage the present, but also in many ways invent their future.
Fantastic. And what's your perspective about what we are going to face in this post-COVID era that we are approaching?
Sure. So starting about 6-8 weeks ago, I reached out to my senior executive client relationships. And as you and your audience know, early on, it was very much the shock. It was a shock to their supply initially, and then shock to demand as a lot of organizations, rightfully so, took a defensive posture. They started to cut back on non-essential travel. They cut back on their labor and consultants and contractors and literally started to really think about their liquidity and access to cash and capital and their balance sheet in some ways. More recently, what I get excited about is really the conversations with those forward-thinking leaders who are saying, okay, so we've done the defense. To really come out of this economic crater, we need to also have an offensive approach. And very specifically within offense, your ability to maneuver, your ability to crawl back from this economic crater is really predicated on three things. One is really thinking about a expansion of your capabilities, and that heavily depends on, first and foremost, your labor. So we talk a lot about labor flex. How do I take my existing workforce and how can I upskill, reskill, or redeploy them based on different market demands that I'm seeing? And those market demands are also really depend on what we call industry variances. So I was on a call with several industry analysts, and most of your audience are familiar with a V-shaped recovery, right? 1 or 2 quarters. Others think of a more prolonged U-shaped recovery that might be 1 or 2 years. Many people believe that our recovery actually would be some combination of those. Some industry sectors are getting a COVID tailwind. Think of technology infrastructure, think of health tech, think of consumer products, think of agriculture. And unfortunately, other sectors are just getting hammered. Travel, tourism, retail, any business that's in essence, your value proposition is really predicated by physical proximity is going to continue to struggle, because short of a globally deployed biosolution, right, a vaccine or some other preventive measure, we're going to be we're going to have some angst about we're going to be very reluctant to get back together again. So what industries are doing well? I think I'm going to identify those much more clearly in the next month or two. 2, labor flex, really reallocating your labor based on those market opportunities. And the third one, Francesco, is really what we're calling micro acquisitions. So if you have a really strong balance sheet, you're going to have competitors or potentially small to medium-sized companies in your industry sector that are not going to fare as well. Here in the US, many organizations took the payroll protection program, PPP, and there's some strings attached. So you have to keep your people on board for some period of time if you want that loan to be forgiven. Unfortunately, because the demand is not there, as soon as that time period runs out, I believe you're going to see another wave of layoffs, if not furloughs. So micro acquisitions are great opportunities, as an example, to look for net new growth opportunities. Where can I leverage those relationships? Where can I go to potential competitors in my space or go to others in my industry sector and look for opportunities to co-create, to invest, to create joint ventures, if not acquire them, but really bring that innovation, bring those interesting ideas in the company. What I can tell you in most of my executive conversations is most executives believe more so that this is no longer a beginning, middle, and an end. COVID really is here to stay with us. And it's really how do we live with this in the AC after COVID, and there's no going back to BC before COVID. So really thinking about adapting to changing our business model, changing parts of our business, looking at these net new innovation and business model innovation opportunities to really uncover new growth potentials.
Very interesting. Thank you. And what's your perspective about the role of artificial intelligence approaching this new normal?
Sure. So everything we know about AI and machine learning, one of its key attributes is that it can do a lot of the heavy lifting. In what I just described, a lot of those scenarios require a lot of analysis. And right now, real-time actionable data, especially that's market-facing, is really difficult to come by. So AI could, I believe, could help us gather that intelligent data quickly, bring it back on a near real-time basis, help us analyze, and in essence, for a matching engine. So I said earlier, what industries are doing well? Let's go analyze 10, 12 industries that we may have worked with in the past, and let AI do the heavy lifting in analyzing the key barometers of which industries are doing well, which ones are struggling. So it's not just gut feel or intuition, we have data behind it. Next, our labor pool. So of all the talent that we have inside and outside our organization, if we identify the market, what are those labors? What are those skills that we need to serve those market needs? And last but not least, the idea of these micro acquisitions. Who are the companies that are out there? Who are those potentially small and medium-sized firms that we could identify would be a viable fit and or trying to solve some fundamental industry problems that would be a good fit with our portfolio, with our culture, with kind of where we are. So I'm very optimistic about AI really becoming an enabler of net new growth opportunities for us in this post-COVID-19 world.
Fantastic. One last thing, if companies or executives want to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Sure. Easiest way to find us is just our website, Nour Group, nourgroup.com is our website. And there's articles and blogs, and I write for several publications. And I'm also fairly active on various social channels. But that's probably our best place for your audience to learn more about our work, Nour Group, nourgroup.com.
Thank you very much. Very appreciated.
My pleasure.